The mighty Columbia River. The Columbia River starts in the Lake Columbia in the Selkirk Mountains of British Columbia, Canada. It flows 1,243 miles until it drains in the Pacific Ocean. The river runs through Canada for about 465 miles until it crosses the border into Washington. In Washington, it takes a southern path through the state, almost in the shape of an S, and then finally turns west towards the sea. The river also divides the states of Washington and Oregon before it flows into the Pacific. The Columbia River has a very diverse ecosystem, with many fish species that include salmon, trout, sturgeon, steelhead, and many other smaller species. There are also other animals that live in the river, such as shellfish, otters, sea lions, and birds. The Columbia River has many tributaries to feed it. The largest of these tributaries is the Snake River, which feeds into the Columbia River from Idaho. It is about 1,038 miles long. The second largest tributary is the Clark Fork Pend Orville, which runs about 400 miles before entering above the Canadian border. The rest of the smaller tributaries include the Yakima, Kootenay, Deschutes, and Willamette. The Columbia River, although mighty, has been maintained by a series of dams that stretch all the way from Canada to Bonneville, Washington. The largest dam on the Columbia River is the Grand Coulee Dam, which is located in Washington, about 88 miles from Spokane, Washington. This dam is used for hydroelectricity, flood control, and irrigation. The Grand Coulee Dam is about 597 miles upstream from the Pacific Ocean. The dam, however, does not have any fish ladders because it was thought too high for fish ladders. And so that means that the fish spawning grounds that were behind the dam will never be used again, unless the dam has fish ladders or is no longer in the river. The last dam on the Columbia River series of dams is the Bonneville, which is located in Bonneville, Washington. The dam was built in 1939, and what makes this dam so famous is its fish ladders that allow for salmon to swim upstream and spawn. The impacts of the dam on the Columbia River, however, can be seen and felt today. One of the ways that we see this is in the salmon runs. Before the dams were built, scientists estimated that the annual salmon runs were between 15 and 18 million annually. But now, with the dams in place, the number has been reduced to about 90,000 to 100,000. Fish returning to spawn, only about 10,000 of them are wild. This is the result of dams that do not have fish ladders, such as the Grand Coulee Dam. There's also issues that arise with fish ladders, however. Fish ladders are excellent for allowing adult salmon to swim and return upstream. However, they are inadequate for allowing smolts or juvenile fish to swim down, because they are not strong enough to brave the waters rushing down the fish ladders. Other issues that arise from the dams is the turbines. In an article titled "Fin versus Turbines," the author writes about how the smolts would languish and sit behind the dam in the reservoir, and then get sucked through the turbine intakes and get chopped up by the turbines. And because of this, juvenile fish that could help the population make a comeback were dying. But now, due to a concern that was brought to light, special screens are being installed at the dams to prevent the smolts from being sucked in. And so the dams are a major factor that comes into effect in the decline of the salmon runs, and the dam that is most crucial is the Bonneville Dam, which its success in the conservation of salmon will affect perhaps 75% of the total salmon supply. If all dams could be like the Bonneville Dam, then the fish population could see a comeback. The Columbia River is a main economic source for the Pacific Northwest. It provides many resources, and without it, the Pacific Northwest could not look the way it does today. One of the main economic goods the river provides us is hydroelectricity. The BPA, or Bonneville Power Administration, is the main overseer of all the dams on the Columbia River, with the exception of the dams that are in Canada. They regulate the amount of power being produced at the dams and where the power is sent and how much is being paid for that power. Studies show that dams generate about $44 billion in revenue annually. These dams also generate about 40% of the nation's energy. This is obviously a major economic resource for the Northwest as well as the country. Along with the dams, there is also the seafood industry, which nets about 30 million pounds annually, with the average fisherman's income coming in at almost $2 million for his catch. This is a huge resource for the region. In conclusion, the topics that have been discussed on are all very important issues. That will surely affect us in the future along with future generations to come. As for the river, the mighty Columbia will keep on flowing as it has for thousands of years. The dams will remain because that is a huge economic commodity, generating billions in revenue and thousands of jobs that we are not willing to forego in an economic crisis that the country is going through right now. Alongside also keeping millions of pounds of carbon dioxide emissions out of the air with its renewable hydroelectric energy, which will greatly help the environment in the Columbia River Gorge area along with the rest of the region. The salmon will still remain in the river. They will struggle, but they will survive, especially after they have gone extinct 3 times in the last 100,000 years without human intervention. Then with us being here, we should be able to keep them and the species alive for future generations to come. Thank you.